Iran has just issued an urgent response to Donald Trump and the United States after Donald Trump's total surrender and capitulation in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has posted the following message on its social media accounts. Iran is only a few days away from a nuclear bomb with a wink emoji. And it's a photo of a cave because Donald Trump said, I'm going to bomb Iran back to the Stone Age.
So MeidasTouch just exposed Iran's devastating psychological warfare response to Trump's complete military humiliation in the Persian Gulf. They're breaking down how Iran is trolling Trump with nuclear threats while he desperately tries to spin obvious defeat as victory. This is masterful analysis of foreign policy catastrophe.
And the Iranian social media accounts have posted the following message. Once upon a time in the Stone Age, Iran is only a few days away from a nuclear bomb. Wink face emoji.
The fairy tale format is pure genius. Iran's mocking Trump like he's a children's storybook villain. That casual wink emoji with nuclear threats shows they view him as a joke, not a serious leader. This is devastating psychological warfare targeting his ego specifically.
Now, you'll recall that Donald Trump has said that he's no longer pursuing Project Freedom in the Strait of Hormuz, which he just announced a day ago, because he said that it's been such a successful operation that he doesn't even need to do it anymore. The truth is that as Donald Trump tried to get a number of cargo ships and tankers out of the Strait of Hormuz, Iran demonstrated that it still had a strong grasp and control over the Strait of Hormuz. A South Korean tanker, a UAE tanker, and the port of Fujairah were all hit by Iran as Donald Trump tried to escalate. So then Donald Trump gave up and said, we're not doing this anymore.
The Strait controls 20% of global oil traffic. Losing it is catastrophic. Iran hit 3 major shipping targets while Trump's Project Freedom was supposedly protecting them. Now he's calling defeat victory because admitting failure would crash markets and expose his incompetence.
So Donald Trump then declared a ceasefire over the existing ceasefire from Epic Fury. He goes, no, that was the Epic Fury ceasefire. This is the Project Freedom ceasefire. It's a double ceasefire, you see? And Iran was like, we don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're imagining negotiations with yourself.
Trump's literally declaring ceasefires with himself while Iran ignores him completely. It's like a child playing pretend diplomacy in his bedroom. Iran's cutting through the delusion. There are no negotiations when one side is talking to imaginary partners.
And you can just see what Iran is doing and saying as Donald Trump spews this propaganda to U.S. media, which manipulates the market for Donald Trump and Trump's rich buddies. Here's what Iran's foreign minister spokesperson had to say.
Exactly right. Trump's fake Iran progress claims manipulate oil futures, enriching his wealthy donors who trade on insider knowledge. Meanwhile, working families pay higher gas prices based on his lies. It's securities fraud disguised as foreign policy.
The concept of negotiations requires, at the very least, a genuine attempt to engage in discussions with a view to resolving the dispute. And it's citing international law. It needs good faith, then, meaning that negotiation is not a disputation, nor is it a dictation, a deception, an extortion, or a coercion.
Iran citing the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, actual international law that requires good faith negotiations. Trump operates purely through threats and extortion, violating every diplomatic norm. They're schooling him on basic statecraft principles he's never learned.
Then Iran social media accounts also posting a drone that was shot out of the sky recently by Iran. I know Donald Trump says Iran has no military, no navy, no anything. Well, they're still striking American drones out of the sky, and they've paraded around one of these drones. And this is what they write. Display of the enemy's captured spy and hostile drone in the Persian Gulf waters at the nighttime gathering of the people of Hormuz Island. The latest capture by the armed forces becomes a guest in the Strait epic. You can see it right there.
Iran just shot down a $15 million Reaper drone while Trump claims they have no military. Parading captured U.S. technology shows their air defense systems work perfectly. His intelligence briefings apparently don't match his public boasts.
Iran's foreign minister spokesperson also writes, wooden headness, the source of self-deception, is a factor that plays a remarkably large role in government. It consists in assessing a situation in terms of preconceived fixed notions while ignoring or rejecting any contrary sign. It is acting according to wish while not allowing oneself to be deflected by the facts. And that's a passage from Barbara Tuchman's The March of Folly, From Troy to Vietnam. It's actually a great book.
Tuchman's March of Folly analyzes how governments ignore reality, like LBJ escalating Vietnam despite knowing it was hopeless. Iran's foreign ministry is literally citing academic studies about Trump's psychological pattern of self-deception. That's devastating intellectual warfare.
In fact, Iran's social media account also responds to Donald Trump's post of yesterday, where Trump gives up and says, we're done with Project Freedom. And the Iran social media accounts write, all the stuff they did these last 3 months, totally unnecessary. Regardless of the outcome, it was an unnecessary operation and unnecessary suffering for all. Tremendous. So then, as Iran is now saying, we're days away from a nuclear weapon or a nuclear bomb, right? You saw their post.
Iran's framing themselves as the responsible party forced into nuclear development by American aggression. They're highlighting the human cost of Trump's failed operations while positioning nuclear weapons as defensive necessity. Brilliant strategic messaging.
Donald Trump goes into the Oval Office and he's doing a press conference with UFC fighters to talk about a UFC fight that's going to happen in a few weeks at the White House. By the way, I think this UFC fight's going to be the biggest failure ever because anything that Donald Trump dies and turns to crap. But anyway, he's surrounded by UFC fighters. Very bizarre. And a reporter says to Donald Trump, so you realize Iran is not submitting. They're refusing to submit. And then Donald Trump lashes out at the reporter. Why do you say that? You don't know that. And the reporter's like, Iran has fired at U.S. Navy ships in the past few days.
Trump's hosting UFC events during a nuclear crisis while attacking reporters for asking legitimate questions about Iranian military strikes. The disconnect between his entertainment priorities and actual national security threats is staggering, even by his standards.
You're facing an opponent right now in Iran that has refused to submit. You seem optimistic now as you may be closer to a deal. What's different about this moment now than in other moments where a deal has seemed close?
Well, why do you say they refused to submit? You don't know that. You don't know what's going on behind you.
U.S. ships a few days ago.
And a few days ago is a long time ago. You know, in the world of war, a few days ago, no, they want to make a deal badly. And we'll see if we get there. If we get there, they can't have nuclear weapons. You know, it's very simple. But what's not to submit? So they had a Navy with 159 ships, and now every ship is blown to pieces.
If Iran's Navy is blown to pieces, how are they controlling shipping lanes and firing at U.S. vessels? Trump's claiming total victory while Iran demonstrates complete operational capability. The logical contradictions expose his desperate attempt to hide failure.
Donald Trump has not had any direct talks with Iran, and Iran has not had any direct talks with Donald Trump's regime. Pakistan is serving as an intermediary, and what will happen, we'll report on it. Iran will provide its framework. It's the same 10-point framework over and over again. They've broken up the framework into phases now to try to make it easier for Trump and his regime to understand, but they've presented it. Then Donald Trump will send a counter plan, which is all the stuff that Iran said are non-negotiables. And then Donald Trump will claim that the counter plan is a discussion with Iran and that Iran's close to agreeing, and then it manipulates the market.
This exposes Trump's entire negotiation scam. Pakistan passes messages while Trump makes demands he knows Iran will reject, then claims progress to manipulate markets. It's not diplomacy. It's a securities fraud scheme using fake peace talks.
But right before Donald Trump said we're not talking about deadlines, he called up state regime media, which calls itself Fox, and he told Bret Baier this will get done in a week. Remember I called a 2-week death spiral with Trump. Just give me 2 weeks, give me a week, 2 weeks, give me a week. And what he hopes is that we all forget about this. A week becomes a month becomes a year becomes 8 years or 10 years or 12 years, and there's no healthcare plan. It's coming in 2 weeks, coming in 2 weeks. Here's what Bret Baier said. Let's play it.
I had a phone call with the president a short time ago, and he is optimistic about this deal, this memorandum of understanding, thinks it is going to lead to things. He's cautiously optimistic, I should say, but thinks, and I asked him what the time frame would be. He puts it at a week.
Trump's used identical timeline promises on healthcare, infrastructure, and trade deals that never materialized. 2 weeks became his signature lie across every policy area. He's now applying the same manipulation tactics to foreign policy crises.
Then Donald Trump held a press conference with Melania. Purportedly, it was about Mother's Day, and the crowd started laughing in Donald Trump's face when Melania mentioned that Donald Trump is empathetic. Let's play it.
Most know my husband as the strong commander-in-chief, but his empathy transcends the role and shape a caring leader who constantly remembers each and every American soldier is someone's child.
The audience literally laughed at claims of Trump's empathy toward military families. Even his supporters can't pretend to believe that fiction. Hosting Mother's Day events while service members face Iranian missiles shows his twisted priorities perfectly.
And he goes, when lots of people use the word sea, they think they mean eyes, but they actually mean the water. That's what Donald Trump is saying. Let's play it.
Like it, but the numbers the numbers speak for themselves. If you really get down, you see drug traffic coming into our country is way down. And by ocean, by the water, a lot of people say, what do you mean by sea? Is it sea like vision? No, it's the SEA. But it's down 97%.
Trump's explaining basic homophones during a nuclear crisis. The cognitive decline is undeniable. Iran's threatening nuclear weapons while he's confused about elementary vocabulary. This isn't leadership, it's elder abuse disguised as governance.
Look, we're dealing with people who very much want to make a deal. Here's what he says as well.
In the case of Iran, we're not going to let Iran have a nuclear weapon. We're not going to let that happen, and we won't let that happen. And so we're dealing with people that want to make a deal very much, and we'll see whether or not they can make a deal that's satisfactory to us. We have it very much under control. The blockade is unbelievable. The Navy's been incredible. The job they did, it's like a wall of steel. Nobody goes through. In particular, the Iranians, they're not getting anything through one way or the other, so they're out of business. And we'll see whether or not they are agreeing. And if they don't agree, they'll end up agreeing shortly thereafter.
Trump's claiming total control while Iran operates freely throughout the Persian Gulf. His wall of steel narrative crumbles against video evidence of Iranian military success. Reality and his propaganda exist in completely separate universes.
We just hit a new high in the stock market. The stock market's the highest it's ever been. And I expected that the market would be down 20-25%. I was willing to do that to get rid of a crazy country. Crazy. The people, look, you talk about regime change. Their first level leaders are dead. Their second level leaders are dead. Some of their third level leaders are dead. I call that regime change. But I thought we'd be down maybe 20%, and we're up. The stock market's higher now than when we started this war. And I thought oil prices would go to $200, $250. It's at $100 now.
He's claiming Iran's leadership is dead while they're actively conducting military operations against U.S. forces. If markets believed his military claims, oil would be crashing instead of rising. Even Wall Street knows he's lying.
And I think you're surprised, and I'm surprised. But even if it went to 200, it would have been worth it.
$200 oil means $8 gas, devastating working families to satisfy Trump's ego. He's admitting willingness to destroy American household budgets for personal vendetta politics. That's not leadership. It's sociopathic selfishness.
Well, I can tell you this, that as far as the Pope is concerned, and it's very simple. Whether I make him happy or I don't make him happy, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And he seemed to be saying that they can. And I say they cannot. Because if that happened, the entire world would be hostage, and we're not going to let that happen.
The Pope never endorsed Iranian nuclear weapons. Trump's lying about religious leaders while alienating every traditional ally. He's attacking the Vatican while losing to Iran militarily. His foreign policy destroyed America's global standing completely. Trump's Iran strategy collapsed completely. Failed military operations, successful Iranian retaliation, fake diplomatic progress, and market manipulation disguised as foreign policy. Iran's nuclear threats expose his weakness while he hosts entertainment events. This is comprehensive leadership failure.